As Election Day unfolds across the United States, there's an unsettling sense of déjà vu. Donald Trump is poised to repeat the strategies and misinformation tactics that clouded the aftermath of the 2020 election, raising concerns among political analysts, voting rights advocates, and Democratic leaders. Despite losing over 60 lawsuits challenging the 2020 election, Trump has continued to assert baseless claims of fraud, feeding a narrative that has driven a wedge into American democracy. The mainstream media, which played a pivotal role in covering these allegations post-2020, now faces an essential choice: to counter Trump's falsehoods effectively or risk enabling the spread of disinformation that could fuel further chaos and distrust. In this climate, renowned election attorney and voting rights advocate Mark Elias has issued a powerful warning to the media. Speaking directly to reporters, Elias stressed the importance of combating Trump's inevitable post-election declarations of victory and fraud. With Trump's loyal allies prepared to contest any unfavorable result, Elias argues that the media must be vigilant and responsible, presenting facts without resorting to false equivalency or legitimizing lies. The actions taken by journalists in this critical moment, he asserts, could determine the resilience of American democracy itself. Let's explore Elias's insights, examine the media's role in upholding truth, and understand why Election Day 2024 could be a turning point for democratic integrity in the United States. Trump's predictable playbook of lies and deception. If there's one predictable thing about Donald Trump, it's his unrelenting stream of self-serving lies. For years, Trump has engaged in a calculated disinformation campaign, casting doubt on election integrity whenever it suits him. Whether it's claiming that he won states he lost by substantial margins, as he did with New Mexico and Minnesota, or baselessly accusing opponents of fraud, Trump's narrative seldom changes. But now, as Election Day looms, there is renewed urgency among his opponents to anticipate and counteract these tactics. Mark Elias, a seasoned legal strategist who has been at the forefront of protecting voting rights, says it's essential to remember that Trump's claims are part of a broader strategy. When he says he won an election he lost by 7 or 11 points, we have to recognize that this isn't a one-off incident of confusion or a misspeak. It's a deliberate effort to distort reality, Elias warned. As Trump prepares to unleash a torrent of claims alleging widespread fraud, no matter the actual outcome, the media and public must see through the fog of lies. Why media accountability is essential. Elias is firm in his assertion that the media's role in this election is crucial. In 2020, Trump's unfounded claims were echoed across media platforms, sometimes without the essential context or fact-checking required to prevent public confusion. This time around, Elias urges journalists to approach Trump's statements with caution and discernment, warning against creating a false equivalency between lies and truth. The media's role, he argues, is not to serve as a neutral conduit for every statement Trump makes, especially when those statements are demonstrably false. Elias stresses that when Trump claims fraud, the media's job should be to highlight these statements as lies, not as perspectives deserving equal weight alongside facts. For instance, Elias pointed out the absurdity of Trump's recent declaration that he won New Mexico, a state he decisively lost in both 2016 and 2020. Imagine, Elias suggests, if President Joe Biden falsely claimed he had won Alabama. The press would likely frame it as a serious mental lapse, yet Trump's similar comments are often downplayed or treated with undue legitimacy. If you're a member of the press, your job is not to amplify baseless lies but to clarify them, Elias says. This call for journalistic integrity highlights the broader responsibility of the press, ensuring that Americans receive accurate, unambiguous information in the face of deliberate deception. The stakes are higher. Could Trump's lies fuel another insurrection? Elias underscores a grim reality. Unchecked lies have consequences, and in the case of Trump's election fraud narrative, those consequences were on full display on January 6, 2021. Trump's rhetoric, amplified and accepted by a significant portion of his base, culminated in a violent assault on the Capitol. Today, with even more ardent loyalists in his inner circle, Trump's influence over his followers is as potent as ever, if not more so. In his conversation with political commentator Brian Tyler Cohen, Elias suggested that Trump's circle has evolved since 2020. He's surrounded himself with people who are not just sycophants, but who are also highly competent, Elias explained. But he warns against interpreting this competence as independence. Trump's current allies are, by design, unwaveringly loyal to his interests and more inclined to push forward his claims than to question them. The 2024 election cycle, therefore, might see an escalation in the intensity of Trump's claims and the efforts of his supporters to delegitimize the results. This shift in Trump's orbit, from moderate dissenters who occasionally challenged him to loyalists ready to act on his every word, raises serious concerns about post-election behavior. The parallels to 2020's Big Lie scenario are evident, but Elias contends the stakes are even higher this time around. And it's not just the immediate supporters surrounding Trump who contribute to this volatile environment. The broader Republican Party has been filing a flood of lawsuits in battleground states, an approach that Elias suggests is part of a premeditated strategy to contest unfavorable results. Preemptive lawsuits and the RNC's legal strategy. One striking difference between 2020 and today's electoral climate is the Republican Party's readiness to deploy legal tactics even before Election Day. Elias notes that in the lead-up to 2024, Trump's allies in the RNC have already initiated numerous lawsuits, effectively telegraphing their game plan. These preemptive legal challenges are designed to cast doubt on election integrity well in advance, laying the groundwork for broader post-election claims of fraud. In Elias's view, this surge of preemptive litigation demonstrates how determined the Trump-aligned GOP is to disrupt the electoral process. The strategy relies not on concrete evidence of voter fraud, but on public perception. By pushing these lawsuits, Republicans aim to seed doubt among voters, particularly Trump supporters, who may already be primed to distrust the election system. For these supporters, the lawsuits provide proof that the system is rigged, even in the absence of actual evidence. This legal onslaught poses a formidable challenge for Democrats and voting rights advocates, who must now counter the GOP's assertions in court while simultaneously working to reassure the public of the election's legitimacy. We're facing a fundamentally new challenge here, Elias says. The 2024 elections are shaping up to be as much a legal battle as they are a democratic process, with each side vying to shape public perception. The media's role, preventing the spread of disinformation. While Elias and his team are prepared to contest frivolous lawsuits, he emphasizes that the ultimate responsibility lies with the media. The press has a unique role in conveying accurate information to the public and dispelling unfounded claims of fraud. Elias appeals directly to journalists, urging them to refrain from publishing Trump's statements uncritically. For instance, he argues that when Trump inevitably declares victory in states he's projected to lose, journalists should frame these claims as false, rather than presenting them as part of an ongoing debate. By doing so, the media can provide readers and viewers with the necessary context to recognize these statements for what they are, part of Trump's larger narrative of election denialism. Elias cites the media's handling of Trump's comments on New Mexico and Minnesota as a cautionary tale. These false claims should be front-page news, he asserts, drawing a parallel to the coverage that would likely ensue if President Biden falsely claimed he won a deep red state. According to Elias, the media's willingness to downplay or ignore Trump's lies about election results only emboldens him. If Trump's lies go unchallenged, they gain legitimacy in the eyes of his supporters, setting a dangerous precedent for future elections. The contingent election scenario, a threat to democratic process. One of the most insidious strategies Elias warns against is the possibility of Republicans leveraging Trump's claims of fraud to push for a contingent election. In this scenario, objections to the Electoral College certification could lead to a scenario in which the election's outcome is determined by the House of Representatives, a body currently controlled by Republicans. If Republicans can successfully convince enough members of Congress to challenge the Electoral College results on January 6, 2025, they could force the election into this contingent scenario, effectively bypassing the will of the people. According to Elias, this possibility underscores the media's duty to present Trump's allegations as unfounded from the outset. By amplifying Trump's lies, the media inadvertently strengthens the case for Republicans seeking to throw the election into the House, where the outcome may favor them. Preparing for a potential Supreme Court battle. The possibility of a Supreme Court showdown looms large over the 2024 election. Although the court declined to hear most of Trump's post-2020 challenges, there remains a pervasive anxiety about how it might handle a future election dispute. Elias advises voters not to dwell excessively on this prospect, instead urging them to focus on exercising their right to vote. However, he acknowledges the court's controversial rulings on voting rights and fears that its current composition could pose risks to electoral integrity. The best defense, Elias insists, is a high voter turnout. With an overwhelming number of ballots cast in favor of democracy, he argues, it will be more difficult for any court to justify overturning the will of the people. As the 2024 election cycle reaches a fever pitch, the stakes for American democracy have never been higher. Donald Trump's disinformation campaign, abetted by loyalists willing to subvert democratic principles, presents an existential threat to the nation's electoral integrity. At the forefront of the defense stands Mark Elias, a voice of reason and vigilance, whose clarion call for media accountability highlights the essential role of journalists in safeguarding the truth. For the media, the choice is stark: to either counter Trump's lies with the full force of factual reporting or risk becoming complicit in the erosion of democratic values. With Election Day upon us, journalists, voters, and advocates alike must confront the challenges head-on, armed with a commitment to truth and justice. The future of American democracy may very well depend on it.